Hello, everyone. I am your host, Melee Wizard, and it's that time of year again. It is time for the 8th annual, I know, right? Holiday Randomizer Marathon. This year, it will be taking place on Saturday, December 21st, rather, starting at noon Eastern. And much to my surprise, I have 5 new games to be showing off here. I very much was not expecting that a year ago, and I I kind of had plans for if that wasn't going to be the case. I guess I have to maybe introduce that next year, unless I have more games to find. Who knows at this point? Anyway, starting from the top, the first game on this for this marathon this time is Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. I will be using Archipelago for this, since that's really the only one I know of. And the randomizer is pretty straightforward. The various coin blocks are shuffled around. I believe the Who beans that are underground are shuffled, specifically the ones that are readily visible. Uh, I forget all the other settings I have right now. Though one big thing is that I am going to be skipping most of Bowser's Castle, pretty much skipping right to the Bowletta fight. Mostly because by the time I get to Bowser's Castle, because it mostly involves plot triggers and whatnot, that by the time I get there, I'll be in Go mode anyway, and there's no reason to spend the time going through all the Koopalings when, yeah, I could just skip to the end. Just from this one alone, I'm concerned about how long this whole marathon is going to go, but hey, given how long the last summer marathon went, that's really a precedent that I'm willing to go however long it takes, which scares me a little bit, considering that there's other randomizers that I could introduce under that same premise. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anyway, the second game on the list is Castlevania: Portrait of Ruin. So, this one is also largely straightforward, your usual Metroidvania fare. The big thing about this one under the settings I'm doing is that I will only have to beat the boss in 4 of the portrait worlds to really get to the end. But I won't know which 4 portrait worlds will actually be available. And because the other 4 will just not exist. And from my experience, two of the portrait worlds will be from the initial 4, and the other 2 will be from the ones that become available after you sanctuary the sisters. So that'll be required. But in my experience, it seems like the hardest part about this particular randomizer is just finding the weapons and or skills necessary to actually beat Dracula. And really that one move where the wing claw things are closing in on you, and if you don't take care of it, you just get insta killed. That seems to be the hardest part for me, because there's really only I've only found a few skills that can actually deal with that. And while it's definitely possible that there's probably some skill involved or some trick or whatever that I'm not fully aware of, I'm just hoping that I find what I need to not have to worry about that part. Anyway, the third game on the list is Paper Mario. So, going into Mario RPGs, surprise. Anyway, with this one, the current plan at the moment is I'm basically doing the equivalent of Triforce Hunt from Ocarina of Time or Link to the Past. Basically, you're finding like mini stars or star shards or whatever the heck the game refers to them as, and I will be tasked with finding 50 out of 60 of them. So that should require me to scour a whole bunch of the world without necessarily having to worry about actually getting to all the bosses and whatnot, since I do plan on having Key Sanity on and all the other things, including having access to the partners being shuffled. So who knows where I'll find, how long it'll take for me to find them, or really which one I'll be starting with. So frankly, just finding the stars, and really that will actually trigger the end. I'm not worried about going after Bowser, mostly because who knows what kind of badge combinations I'll have, and so I tend to be kind of set in my ways in how to deal with the Bowser fight. So the badge, if I don't have certain badges, I'll probably have to try to improvise something, and it might, I don't know if it would end well. So I'm just gonna take that whole issue out of the equation. And so when I get the 50 stars, I'll head to the entry to Starway, and that will just be the end of it. The game gives me that option, and I'm taking advantage of it. Not to mention, I'm also trying to factor in the whole time frame to some extent on this, because Anyway, the fourth game on the list is Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. And with this one, I'm also pretty much going to be skipping the final dungeon because I don't like the final dungeon. Specifically, fighting the dang Dark Nuts. Goodness, I'm probably going to have to deal with some of them anyway. But just, I don't like fighting those Dark Nuts because I'm not good at it. I don't know a good way of dealing with them. And so yeah, that alone is would probably want me to not deal with Dark Hyrule Castle. But and like I said, the game gives me the option of just ending the game at the point where Dark Hyrule Castle would manifest itself, and I'm probably going to take advantage of it. But it's still going to have some requirements. I will have to get the four elements and get the full powered sword. So that will require me to beat 4 dungeons. Who knows which 4? Because the elements can be shuffled amongst the 4 dungeons you normally find them in, plus Palace of Winds and the Royal Tomb. So you would have what Cave of Droplets. I this also shows my concerns because my experience with the game is not that comprehensive, so I don't really remember all the names of these places now. Uh, which is also part of my concern regarding the time frame on this. I have done some practice on most of these, so I at least have some idea what I'm doing, but I'm not exactly a pro. Though I have never actually claimed to be. But yeah, key sanity as per usual. Kinstones, I am limiting to just the gold ones. I have tried a seed with having all the kinstone shenanigans involved, and that just led to too much backtracking and whatnot, and it just it's neat as a standalone thing, but as part of a marathon, that would just act too much as filler. It would just make the seed run longer than I'd like. And with that, and my thoughts are disjointed right now, in case you can't tell. Uh, come comes down to the final game on the list, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Also being run through AP, but through Archipelago, though that in its own way routes back into the web page for the randomizer itself. With this one, the main issue on this one is just gaining levels, really, and just hopefully not going into dungeons that would be above my head too soon. The main setting I have on this is regarding my companions, and that their level will scale up at the same level as my own. There is the option of having them like 5 levels ahead or 10 levels ahead, but I figure I just make them even, and hopefully that doesn't bite me. And I think the bigger issue is finding good equipment, particularly the various weapons, The armor would be good, but the weapons will probably be a bigger thing. And also the finding the good spells. Even just cure and life and exit would be good, though having good attack options would be quite beneficial as well. And for this one, there basically once I hit go mode and get to Castle Doom, it'll just go straight to the final boss, which is no cakewalk on its own right. Even if I have a whole bunch of levels, sometimes the boss can just say no. But thankfully, even if you die, you can just restart the fight right then and there. So, which is always nice, and that was a thing in the vanilla game too. And so, this is the rundown. I am honestly wondering how long these 5 seeds will take, especially knowing my history in rolling seeds. But sometimes that's the fun part is just seeing what kind of madness I ended up inflicting myself with. Again. So, I guess join me on the 21st when madness reigns supreme once again. So, until then, this is Melee Wizard, and have a nice day.